John Kurtz back with you here on The Game. I am joined right now by Jim Nagy, who is the executive director of the Reese's Senior Bowl. And recently, we talked about it on the show yesterday, but plenty, I'm sure, have also seen the tweet that he had about Skylar Thompson, indicating that Thompson had a really nice weekend at the Manning passing camp this past weekend, and that there's a lot of draftable tape for Skylar Thompson, which has raised the debate. How draftable of a prospect is Skylar? And I appreciate, Jim, you making the time for me here. How about we'll just start there. What did you see from Skylar at the Manning camp, and what really pops off the page about him to you?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing for me personally was getting in front of him and getting to meet Skylar for the first time. We've been watching him here for a couple of years now. That's what's made the preparation for the 2022 Senior Bowl a little easier is, we looked at a lot of these guys last fall, so we're going to have 2 full years of evals in on them, and ready to go. So it was great meeting him. He's a big, put-together guy, which was great to see. And he showed me a scar from his surgery, and actually got to go outside and then watch him throw it around. And obviously he's not, to me, he didn't look like he was feeling any ill effects from that surgery. It looks like he's back. His arm was live. Really, he's got power behind his arm. That was one of the first things I pulled into town. And, one of the guys that helps run the Manning camp, I asked him, like, who looked good yesterday? And he's like, yeah, Skylar Thompson at Kansas State really threw it well. So, he threw it with good velocity, and it was good to see. I mean, that's one of the difficult things sometimes from tape. You doing a tape eval is that arm strength or quarterbacks, sometimes you really need to see those guys throw live. So it was good to check that box and see him throw. And like I told him, we'll have a couple guys on our staff. We hired a couple guys on our scouting staff that live within driving range of Kansas State and in Big 12 country. So we'll see him play a bunch this fall.
It's interesting you bring that up about the arm, because when I watch him, it seems like he has a good arm. I don't know that I would have said, like, hey, that's an NFL arm for sure. Did you have that same kind of feeling watching him on tape before you actually saw it in person?
No, I didn't. I didn't question the arm. I just didn't know, to what degree it was definitely good enough. I questioned it with a lot of other guys I've seen in this year's class. I didn't question it with Skylar. To me, there's so much to like about his game, just the competitor, the toughness. I love his pocket feel. That's really where he stands out differently from a lot of guys being talked about. Above him in this year's draft, there's a lot of names out there right now that people are projected in the first round, and really probably, it's a little reckless in my opinion. Like I'm not a big fan of going out and putting a bunch of guys in the first round before they play their final years. Just because, again, I start watching the tape on those guys, and I'm like, wow, they're not even close to first-rounders. And you read some of what's on social media and the Internet, and they've got some of these guys in the top 10. I think it's, it's kind of nature of pushing quarterbacks up in the process. And, and again, for social media reasons, that gets a lot of clicks, right? You post anything on a quarterback, and it gets traction. So I think that's why a lot of people do it, but it's just not right for the quarterback. So, but just comparing Skylar to some of those bigger names that a lot of your listeners will probably know about, he's right up there talent-wise with a lot of those guys.
Yeah, and I'm talking right now with Jim Nagy, who's the executive director of the Reese's Senior Bowl. How much does that help him, that it feels like, from the outside looking in, this is a weaker quarterback class, at least as of right now? I mean, we'll see what it looks like by the end of the college football season, but how much does the class help him and his chances?
Yeah, I mean, it helps anyone if you have a little weaker class. Again, but there's a lot of football to be played. There's going to be guys that jump up. I mean, we had the last couple summers. 2 years ago, we had Joe Burrow in the third round. In the summer going into his senior year, last year we had Mac Jones in the third round. And those guys obviously made a huge jump, and we look forward to some of those guys. But with Skylar, I think the thing that hurts him a little bit is the stats. A lot of people that aren't true football evaluators, guys that have, a background in the NFL, they want to go to the stats first and look at that. And those aren't going to jump off the page with Skylar. He's playing in a pro-style system. Our guy Deuce was toting the football last year and doing a great job for him on the ground. So, he doesn't have those gaudy, 40 touchdown numbers that a lot of these guys have. But what he does have is experience in a pro-style system that's proven. You look at the guys that came before him in that system, Easton Stick and Carson Wentz. I mean, those guys are playing in the NFL, and there's a lot of carryover there, and the NFL puts a lot of emphasis on that. And you can see that in Skylar's game and what he's asked to do pre-snap. There's a lot on his plate. Without even talking to him, you can just see with the way he has to direct traffic and get guys set and all the motions shifting. He's running an NFL system. So when it comes down to it next April, those things all will work in his favor and really outweigh anything statistically that he might not have.
I'm glad you bring that up about Chris Kleiman's history with the quarterbacks there. And if you even want to include Trey Lance, I mean, he did recruit Trey Lance and worked with him, I believe, for a year before he left here for K-State. How much does that help if you're a coach, if you're playing for a coach that has had that recent pedigree of quarterbacks going to the NFL?
Yeah, it certainly does. If I was, if my son were a quarterback coming out of high school right now, I mean, that'd be one of the first schools I looked at because they're doing NFL carryover stuff. I think the goal for all these guys is to play at the next level. When they're coming out of high school, they all have those dreams. And again, I would be looking at a place where, if I were a father, I'd be looking for a place where my son could go in and develop a transferable skill set. That's why you see a lot of these high draft quarterback guys don't pan out, because you go back to their college tape and they're not being asked to do anything they're asked to do at the NFL level in terms of reading coverage and doing a lot of things pre-snap that Skylar's been asked to do.
Jim Nagy is talking with me. He's the executive director of the Reese's Senior Bowl. A question that I do have about Skylar is he's been around, I mean, it feels like forever here in Manhattan. Sixth-year senior. He's going to be almost 25. He'll be 2 months shy of 25 by the time the draft rolls around. And I've always heard, K-State had a receiver, Byron Pringle, who left early in part because he was 25 and felt like the clock was ticking on his NFL career. At quarterback, does the age work against you if you are starting to get up in age like Skylar is?
Yeah, that will for sure be something that's talked about. And we'll factor it in for the Senior Bowl as well. Our goal is to get all our guys drafted. So, that's going to be a consideration. I think at the quarterback position, probably less so than you brought up Pringle, less so than a wide receiver. I mean, ideally you're drafting wideouts that are, 21, 22 years old. So, probably not as much, but with all these guys, all these super seniors that chose to come back for a fifth or sixth, or there's even a couple guys on our board that are like seventh year guys. It's that the age factor is always going to be part of the conversation when you get into draft rooms, come next February, March.
Again, Jim Nagy is talking with me, executive director of the Reese's Senior Bowl. So what do you feel like right now is a reasonable ceiling for where Skylar could climb as far as his draft status goes?
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate the question. I really do. I like staying away from that. That's not my job to put ceilings on guys. We're just going to evaluate them. I'm being a director of the Reese's Senior Bowl. I mean, again, even when I work for ESPN, I got to be careful. That's not my job to put any limits on any of these players right now. We're just going to evaluate him. Hope he has a great year. That's what I told all these guys at the SEC media days I've been at the last couple of days. It's just, go out and have fun, have a great senior year, and let the chips fall. That's all these guys can do. Don't get preoccupied with what's on social media or the internet or what guys are talking about you on TV. Just go out and have fun with your teammates, and whatever happens. And that's how we're going to treat all these guys. And again, we look forward to seeing Skylar play because in terms of this year's quarterback class, he might not be like a common name for most people if you follow a lot of the draft stuff, but. When you actually look at the tape and look at these guys, he's right there. He's right there for our game for the Senior Bowl. He's in a really good spot on the board right now.
Totally fair. One thing I should have asked earlier that I just thought of, as far as things that can help improve his stock, maybe a different way to reframe that question, like where can Skylar improve or just show more consistency to help up his stock this year?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just staying healthy, putting the full season out there. And playing his style and staying healthy through it because he does. I mean, you look at him, I think he have like 22 rushing touchdowns in his career.
Yep.
Some of that nature. I was rewatching the Oklahoma game a couple nights ago, and they get in goal line, and now I know why they run him. I mean, he runs like a fullback when he gets to the goal line. So just stay healthy. Keep making good decisions, taking care of the football, and helping his team win. That's going to be the biggest thing. There's not. He's in a position. That's why at Kansas State, those wins against Oklahoma mean a lot. So to really, lift your program, I don't think we talk enough about these days that we used to about guys elevating the program and elevating the guys around them. And I think the NFL still sees that as a really important piece to playing quarterback is making the guys better around you. So, maybe pull off a big win, couple big wins, unexpected wins that people don't think K-State can grab this year. maybe go get a couple of those. That'll help.
Awesome. Well, Jim, really appreciate you making some time for me. We'll keep our eye on everything here. And, hey, if Skylar winds up making it there, maybe we'll talk again soon at the end of the football season.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.